How much are buyer closing costs in New York City? We'll demystify this topic and tell you how you can reduce them in the following video. I'm Nick at Houseit. Visit our website, houseit.com, to learn how to save money if you are looking to buy, sell, or rent real estate here in New York City. So let's get started. So how much are buyer closing costs in New York City? Well, buyer closing costs range from 1.5% to 6%. Buyer closing costs are going to be the highest for new development properties, such as your typical new development condo in New York City. That's when you're going to get a closing cost figure closer to 6%. Now, buyer closing costs are going to be the lowest for co-op apartments, and we'll explain why shortly, meaning that your typical buyer closing cost bill is going to be a little bit higher for condos compared to co-ops. And as we've previously mentioned, new development condos, new development properties, you're going to pay the highest closing costs out of any of the property types here in New York City. Closing costs also do vary based on the price point, as we'll explain shortly. So the largest buyer closing costs consist of the mortgage recording tax as well as the mansion tax. The mortgage recording tax is 1.8 to 1.925% of your loan size. And the mansion tax ranges from 1% to 3.9% of your purchase price, depending on the notional or price point of the home that you are buying. The more expensive the property is, the higher tax bracket you will have to pay for the mansion tax. Other large closing costs include title insurance for condos and houses, as well as real estate attorney fees, as well as fees associated with obtaining a mortgage. So if you are looking for a detailed estimate of your buyer closing costs in New York City, visit our website, houseit.com. We have two interactive and free calculators that you can use. We have our buyer closing cost calculator. Go ahead and use this one if you're buying something that is not a new development. So if you're just buying a typical townhouse, condo co-op, anywhere in the city, that's the calculator to use. The link is below in the description. And if you are looking to buy a new development, we have an even more detailed buyer closing cost calculator which you can utilize, which goes into all of the specifics with respect to the nuanced additional closing costs associated with a new development. So again, the link for that calculator as well is in the description below. Now onto the most exciting part of the video, where we tell you actually how you can reduce your buyer closing costs here in New York City. And if you're watching this video right now, you're very fortunate, because I would say more than 90% of buyers have absolutely no idea that the strategy that we're about to tell you exists. And many times buyers only hear about it, they might only be watching this video after they've already closed, at which point it's already too late. So the easiest way to reduce your buyer closing costs in New York City is by receiving what's called a buyer agent commission rebate from your buyer's agent. A buyer agent commission rebate is when your buyer's agent receives a commission from the seller, and instead of keeping the entire commission, actually gives you back some portion of that upon closing. So if you think for your typical new development condo, say in Gramercy, you're talking about a $5 million property with a buyer agent commission of 3%. That is a $150,000 commission that the developer is paying to the buyer's agent. Now, with a Houseit buyer closing credit, for example, which is our version of a buyer agent commission rebate in New York City, of that $150,000, we would give you back $100,000 in the form of a credit at closing or a check post-closing. So think about the dollar terms that we've just discussed. $100,000 is going to buy you an extremely nice car. It can buy you a large house in most of America, and it could potentially pay for your living expenses for a very, very long period of time, depending on your lifestyle. The point is, you don't want to pass on $100,000 or miss out. So in order to save money, you need to work with a buyer's agent who will offer you a buyer agent commission rebate. We make that very easy at Houseit through our buyer closing credit program. We'll connect you with an agent who's already agreed to offer you up to 2% or more of the purchase price back upon closing. You don't have to negotiate or haggle over it, and you still receive the same traditional full-service experience that you would hopefully and rightfully expect, particularly if you're buying a very expensive luxury new development condo or a pricey brownstone in the city. So please do reach out if you are interested, houseit.com, or send us an email, team@houseit.com. Can save you a tremendous amount of money on your purchase, and we'd love to assist. Finally, before we let you go, we also do want to mention two things. Number one, commission rebates, buyer agent commission rebates, are completely legal in New York and dozens of other states. So you have no worries on that front. Secondly, the IRS generally considers rebates to be non-taxable. Now, we're not a tax professional, so we cannot give you firm advice here, but in general, buyer agent commission rebates are generally considered to be non-taxable. And so if you use, for example, the House at Buyer Closing Credit service, the buyer's agent will not report the closing gift or rebate to the IRS, so there's no expectation that you would receive any form of 1099 for the money that you receive. So huge amount of money, great way to reduce your buyer closing costs. Thanks again for watching. We really appreciate it. Leave us a comment below if you have any questions. I'm Nick at Houseit, and we'll see you on the next video.